Hello and welcome to this podcast of amazingness, the first in an amazing lineup of podcasts. Instead of me wittering on to myself because it's what I do best, I'm here with the amazing, with the wonderful Sam Smith.
Oh, thank you very much, Tom. That's very kind.
Yeah, and
How are you, buddy?
I'm all right.
Very
So,
good. You
if
may have to point out that I'm not the Sam Smith. I'm just one of many.
yeah, yeah, because Sam Smith singer's a little bit busy at the moment, probably producing music.
Yeah, I wonder if he's into Taskmaster. He probably is. I
Probably,
suppose.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys didn't know, he is the task writer and warm up act for the New Zealand Taskmaster, which is probably one of the closest versions to the UK original. Now, what was it like on the New Zealand Taskmaster?
Well, for me, it was fantastic. I'm such a huge fan of the British Taskmaster that this was an absolute dream come true for me to be able to work on this and do the writing for it. We started writing in January of last year, and the show wasn't on until September. So we spent so long just we did all the writing by the end of January. We thought we were going to record it in February till I think April or so, and then we were going to do it in record the studio things in August, and then that got delayed again. So we finally managed to do it in September, and then we finally managed to get it on air. Yeah, right towards the end of the year. The last episode was on Christmas Eve. So my overwhelming memory of it is it took ages. That's what I remember about season one of Taskmaster New Zealand.
Yeah. And what I quite liked about it was a lot of people have also mentioned it with a lot of New Zealand shows that the comedy is very similar to the UK. Did you feel that because obviously you're a big fan of the original? Did you see like the similarities in comedy between the both?
Yes, totally. Yeah. Everything we don't make too much comedy in New Zealand, and but the things that we do make are very very British. There are lots of like our top comedy shows on here are 8 out of 10 Cats. This Countdown. Whenever Michael McIntyre has a show, that's really big. Live at the Apollo,
Yeah.
it's on regularly. There are a few New Zealand ones which feature the contestants that were on Taskmaster and a few other people. But yeah, lots of English people who have come over to. Well, you guys colonized us back in the day, so we've still got that connection still to this day.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that my good friend Rose Matafeo brought up many times when she was on
Yeah.
your version of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a mind blowing moment. We worked on a show together called Jono and Ben.
Oh yeah.
Uh, she was one of the sort of the other stars there, along with Guy Williams from season one of Taskmaster, and then Brinley Stent was also a part of that show. Angela Dravid was also part of that show. Madeline Sami was part of a show that sort of ran alongside that show called Funny Girls, and then Lee Hart was the other person from this season that we didn't really have too much to do with, but basically everyone on the show was friends. Paul Williams was part of that show, John and Ben as well.
Yeah.
Um, so we had so yeah, lots of connections, and yes, we're very big fans of British comedy over here in New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, I'm on this. I'm not down with what modern people and kids are up to, but there's something called Reddit, and someone had made the connection between Jay Caster's stand-up show, Cole's on You Hate Myself 1999, and Paul Williams because when he walks on, because it's now on Vimeo, when he walks on, it's Paul Williams is amazing, shall I say? It sounds
Yeah.
yeah.
Paul Williams is a absolute genius. He is musically talented. He's so funny. He's got this really deadpan thing that is just amazing.
Yeah.
And he made me laugh so much. We this season for season two, we've just finished writing it. They're recording it right now. Is he he actually did some of the task writing with me. Last year it was Joseph Moore, the task producer, and myself who did it. Then this year it was so cool getting to do it with Paul. He is just the funniest dude in the world, and yeah, he's amazing. And yeah, hopefully we'll see a bit more connection between him and the tasks this season, because he came up with some of them, which is really cool. Whereas last year in season 1, we didn't know who the Taskmaster or the Taskmaster's assistant or any of the contestants were going to be until after we'd finished writing the tasks.
Yeah.
It was it was really interesting. It was really it's a bit better this year knowing sort of how some of the show fitted together.
And just jumping a lot forward to a later episode of the series. What was it like seeing Greg Davis react to the show? Because obviously Greg was on an episode because Brindley brought him into the task. What was your reaction to that?
I was in the studio when it happened, and it blew my mind. it was amazing. I was like, oh yeah, this is incredible. We're actually making part of my favorite show. Taskmaster UK is my favorite show, and it was that moment that really hit me. And the other time was when I first walked down to the set for the first time, and I was just like, we've made this exactly the same as the recreation of what's it called? Is it called the Clapham Grand, where they filmed the first season?
I think it is. I'm
Yeah.
not unsure. Don't quote me on it. I think it is.
Yeah.
It must be.
And so it blew my mind. It was just the greatest moment, being like, oh yeah, I can't believe I'm part of making our version, and fingers crossed that it turns out to be even a quarter as good as the British one.
Yeah, and with it is because Taskmaster is a really popular format, around 15 countries to be exact. I think that they did it. I think it was on Monday with Wellington Paranormal, which is another fantastic show. I
wrote an episode of Wellington Paranormal, so thank you very much.
And I quite like them, but I think Sky Comedy would be a really good home in the UK for Taskmaster New Zealand, because we don't really get any international versions over here apart from our own because of all the rights to that. But because Avalon does the UK version, some other versions as well, the New Zealand version, I think that would work on Sky Comedy, because Wellington Paranormal, from what I can tell, has been a huge success. So I think that would
that's
work.
Great.
And get more viewing figures up, so then New Zealand's got more chance of getting more series, not just.
That would be wonderful. If you can talk to someone, Tom, and make that happen, that would make me very, very happy.
Yeah.
I love making Taskmaster. It's the greatest.
Now let's get on to episode 2 of the first series, which is another one of one of the best episodes, and we'll start off with the prize task. Now, the prize task was to bring in the best thing within a thing, and I think that I quite liked Lee Hart's one, because he brought in the bookshelf with the wine. Which one was your favorite?
I think see, it's a toss up between Brinley and Ange for me. I loved the babushka dolls. And then they were all the contestants. When you got right down to the bottom, there was a Denny's voucher inside. That made me laugh so much. And then I got so confused with Angela's one.
Yeah.
Because I've known Angela for a while now, and she's a very strange creature. So to her, the fact that she made what looked like a roast chicken, but inside it was cake, was made out of Rice Krispies and other things like that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But then Anne has somehow trying to put on this extra joke of there being egg inside the cake that she made, but then has just blown that out of the water and has not explained that well at all. And they actually cut down what was on the show. They cut it down. It was actually about 10 minutes long of just her talking, trying to explain how that worked. And so yes, just to confirm, the joke is that there was an egg mixed into the cake recipe, which was inside her fake chicken. That's what she was trying to say. but she didn't manage to get that down, even when Paul explained it as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think Britain's is my favorite.
yeah. Well, it's a little bit of I've noticed it over recent time that it's something that a lot of things do that it is a weird thing. So like you can buy like a shoe that's a cake that looks like an
Yeah,
actual shoe.
right.
Because there's a show in Japan, I'm not 100% sure what it's called, but where they have to eat something, and it's either going to be the actual object it is or a cake.
I know exactly that show. We were thinking about something like that for a task once, but it never sort of worked. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's it sounds like a great thing to do.
yeah,
Eat your way out of this room.
yeah, yeah.
I might write
And
that down for.
yeah, and it's one of those things that it's when I saw it when I saw the chicken, I'm thinking that does look like an actual real chicken.
Yeah,
But then
it
when
looks
she
phenomenal.
when you explain it, it's not. But when you see them, when you actually see them being made in real life, they're actually icing. So the actual you can get like champagne bottles that are like just icing, and inside is like
Yeah,
your normal cheese
yeah.
sponge cake.
And this one was incredible. It had like molasses or something over it, so that gave it sort of the roast chicken glow. And
Mm,
then I think there was actual pepper on it, and it would have been disgusting to eat,
yeah,
but it looked amazing. Looked so
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
And then,
and
and just going back to what you said about Lee's one,
yeah,
I think most of the things that Lee brought in throughout the entire season, they joked about this in the show, but I think
yeah,
it's genuinely true, were just things in his car, just random leftover items from
yeah,
things that he'd done, and yeah, I felt like over the whole season, the prize tasks, I think Bryn did them really well. I
yeah,
think Ange did them, yeah, thought about them well and did some interesting things.
yeah.
Guy was just strange. He picked just weird things to do. Although I was really fond of the Gillette inside the
Yeah,
sliced bread for this. I thought that was uh yeah, one of his better ones.
yeah, uh,
And then Madge just found that weird stripper pole thing
yeah,
in the box. Felt like it was very much the first thought that she went with.
yeah. And with Brindley's one, that I would call them a Russian doll. So
Yes, yeah,
yeah, and what I liked about it was that for us, the New Zealand version was airing at the same time as the UK version, so it was like the day before, and then the very next day would be the UK version, and there's a sort of similarity. So Brindley, when she painted them to look like the actual contestant, which is quite cool,
mm,
but at the same time, Johnny Vegas in Series 10 of the UK version and made Lego figures of his entire journey of all his acting career. So I think that
yeah,
type of creativeness for a prize tag, it is cool. No
yeah,
matter how many points you get, it's so cool because it's a unique thing that you could get thousands
exactly
and
right.
thousands of
Yeah.
pounds for.
Oh man, I love Johnny Vegas so much. I think he's so funny.
Yeah,
As soon as they announced him for what was he, season 10?
yeah,
Oh, I knew that was going to be a great season.
yeah. I quite like Johnny too. He was a the best bits were every time he's. I don't know if you've seen the series yet, because I'm not sure if it's had, but it's every time he saw a chicken, he had like a little bit of a panic because they have like
In
fake
the
chickens.
in season 10.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm very up to date with Taskmaster.
yeah. And I think Johnny Vegas had a similar style to Angela, because Angela Paul with Paul was sometimes awkward, but it turned out that it's quite funny because it's her. I think it's her style of comedy. I think just
mm,
like the sort of awkwardness.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
She's amazing. She gets very nervous about comedy things.
yeah,
With absolutely no need to do it. She's super funny. Everything she does is amazing. And then afterwards, she'll just be like, "Hey, was that okay? Can I do that? Do you want me to redo that? I'm so sorry. I wish I'd tried harder." She does that with everything she's ever done, and she
yeah,
wins great awards. And she's in movies, and yeah, she's
yeah.
wonderful. She's in an episode of Wellington, in my episode of Wellington Paranormal,
Yes,
in season
she is.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I saw all 3 series in one day on Monday.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, because the old drop it dropped to like 2 a.m. I recorded it because I wasn't up at 2. I was up at 6.
Yeah. Oh,
But,
I'm stoked that that's playing on there. That's great.
yeah, it's very good. There's a friend of mine that's really into what we do in the shadows, which is
Yeah.
what Wellington Paranormal is a spin off of, and I spent a long time talking to him about it, and it is a really good thing. But with the contestants, and I quite like it. Once you've seen the series, you just see them everywhere. So the other
Yeah.
day I was watching, I think it's Patriot Brain with Bill Bailey,
Patriot
the
Brains. I
host.
did warm up for that.
Yeah. And Madeline Sami was just sat there just on the thing. I'm thinking, wow, they've got a lot
Yeah.
more work now.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, Madeline Sami didn't need it. She's one of our country's just greatest comedians. She has been in just all the greatest movies that we've made over the last wee
Yeah,
while, and she's on TV on one of our biggest comedy shows is called 7 Days. It's a bit
yeah,
like Mock the Week,
yeah.
and she's on that all the time. And yeah, she's phenomenal.
Mm,
She's just done this big nationwide go out and see New Zealand campaign. And so she's also on every single ad break.
wow.
Which actually happened during when this episode aired.
Yeah,
We watched her song that we'll get to in a moment, her
yeah,
national anthem, and then it immediately went into an ad break with her song singing about getting out to see New Zealand, which if she had landed that dart on New Zealand, she could have just played that song.
yeah, yeah.
It was great.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And then the scoring for that was Guy got 1 point, Madeline got half point, Angela and Brinley both got 5 points. And how many? Like I think that's quite fair because I think Guy's just bred with the razor in it. It's not that creative in the wide look at how of Taskmaster. It's not the most
Yeah,
creative thing he could have ever thought of.
yeah. I am surprised that Mads didn't lose that one though, because her one was weird, and it was just a thing that she obviously had in her garage. Guy actually put some thought into his.
Yeah.
I would have bumped him. And also, who gives half a point? That's ridiculous. Like,
That's never happened on the UK version, to my
yeah,
knowledge.
that's right. And Jeremy gave a negative point at one point as well in the season,
Yeah,
which is what drives me mental. I was furious throughout the whole
yeah,
thing that
yeah,
we got because it was so early on. We had another 8 episodes of being Madeline has 34.5
yeah.
points. And I was I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm just a bit pedantic about that kind
Mm,
of stuff. But yeah, I would have put Mads at the bottom, then Guy,
yeah,
and then Lee, and then I probably would have edged out Bryn over Angela just from the fact that Bryn's was really funny.
yeah,
How good is a
yeah.
Denny's voucher?
Mm. And the only issue I had with Guy at all is he stood up too much. I don't know if you
Um,
agree. He stands up too
I
much.
completely agree with you.
Mm,
We we used to work on this other show, John and Ben, that I was a writer for and did warm up for, and he just does that. He's so used to doing stand up that he plays up to the crowd and he does that, and it often works when there's a bigger crowd there. And so whenever he did these things, if there are lots of people there and you're there in the room, it seems okay, but on screen it just comes across like he's a
yeah. And a lot of people that I've seen also agree that he's up too much. But what I quite find funny is that he's a stand-up comedian, so he stood up and did some comedy
yeah.
whilst he was
That's right.
on his feet. Yeah.
We should
And now
It
to
almost felt like we'd given him a task to just be like, hey, try and stand up as much as you can during the record.
yeah, yeah. And now to task number 1, which was to try and keep the balloon up the longest. Now, I think that Lee was quite funny in this because he only managed to do it for 22 seconds,
That's
and
right.
I think that was quite funny because he just had a pause when he went to do the tasks. He had the thing with him that he looked like he didn't care, but he did. But he walked. I don't know whether it was the background music, but when he walked into the shed, I think he picked up the guitar and decided playing it. I think.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lee is a fantastic musician. He got his start. in a it was on a show called Sports Cafe, and he was like the lead singer of the band, and his comedy name was that guy. And so everyone, I think they mentioned that during the show in one of the interstitial bits in the studio.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah, he proved that he could play guitar, which was quite. It was a sort of kind of foreshadowing for later on in the episode when we do the anthem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Angela, Angela had two very good moments within the task. One grabbing a twig. Well, it ended up being like a branch more than a twig, and then the other one was just rubbing the balloon onto Paul to give it 0 seconds.
Yeah, it's a genius idea.
Yeah.
Except for wind wasn't her friend that day. And that I'm not sure if the cameraman meant to do this, but they framed that perfectly. That balloon just went and popped on that bit of grass, and you just saw the perfect explosion with Ange in the shot as well.
Yeah.
And then that's a little fact about the show. We actually got a letter of complaint about that. They said you need to. Well, I hope you cleaned up that balloon. You can't just leave rubber sitting out there in nature. That's polluting. And we said, well, yeah, we cleaned it up. We cleaned up everything. It was very easy work around that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time the balloon popped on the grass, I thought it looked amazing. It was like we set it up to be like that.
A cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a very good review. Thanks, Tom. That's lovely.
It could be the end game. It's the end game of all games. And speaking of when they were doing the task, I quite like that when you watch each individual version around the world of Taskmaster, you see a little bit of more of the country, and I quite like how it was in a ranch, because that just said it's too warm if we're stuck in a house. We need to be in a nice cool environment, and that's like saying the rest of the world's got, because we've had snow as of last night. We've had snow, and I mean in like places like Australia and New Zealand, it's always hot, and I think having a ranch works better than being in a house with loads of snow just dotted about.
Yeah, exactly right. I was in the office when they were looking for the house to use as the Taskmaster house, and they saw quite a few, but I think this one was actually the first one they saw and then came back to it.
Yeah,
it's an art gallery that they hire out for certain events, and I think it was designed to be a giraffe sanctuary, which is why it's got this amazing top balcony level that then the giraffes would come up and think. I don't know if it was ever used as that, but that's what I heard. And now they just do weddings there, and I've talked to a couple of fans of Taskmaster New Zealand who have they've said that they're now planning to get married there because they're such a fan of the show, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And we went out to see it early on, and we're like, oh yeah, this is great. We wanted to keep it like the UK version, so we have a study and a lab and a caravan and all the same sort of places. And that place gave us all that things, as well as a whole bunch of outside area that we had. Could do heaps of things. But the balcony was really exciting. We've got a good task in the one in the new season coming up that I probably can't tell you about, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah, well, that's what makes Taskmaster so good, is that in every version there is at least one area that's the same area, like the lab and the actual study and then the bits and bobs. But what's so unique about the New Zealand version that hasn't been done anywhere else is that this is probably the first version to never reuse any British task. And I think that's just like fantastic, and that's what sets it apart from all the others. And it's its own bubble, it's its own unique thing. It's not you're not gonna see Lee Ha on a horse. I was trying to paint the horse because it wouldn't have fit.
Although that would be amazing. That would be really funny. But yeah, totally. I'm glad you picked up on that. Thank you for saying it. It's something we tried really hard to do, and it's quite hard to do. We've had a couple of times in our season. We had the make the biggest thing disappear.
Yeah.
And then they also did that in season 11, season 10, sorry.
Yeah.
And but we filmed ours beforehand, and so then they were on air like 2 weeks apart from each other, and it drove me mental because we worked so hard to get these original tasks, and there were so many great ideas that we had that we then eventually went like, oh no, this is too similar to that one. There were some versions we were like, oh yeah, this is a New Zealand version of this. I'm thinking of like the dips. We had one where people had to get the flavors of dips, which was a bit like the pies one, the UK ones where they had to find out what was in the pies, and it was a bit like the baby food one from season 6. But we thought it's a bit of more of a New Zealand tie-in here that lets us do it again. And then we actually filmed a task for our first season, which was which might sound familiar to you. It's deliver the plates to Paul. You can only carry the plates while on a scooter. For every plate you drop, 20 minutes will be added to your time. Wow. So we filmed that, but it didn't make the cut for season 1. And then that one showed up on season 11, episode 1, which I don't think they've stolen the idea. I think they've just come up with the same idea.
It was by accident.
And yeah, exactly right. It's just because we're thinking of the same things. And there was a task that was on the most recent episode of season 11 that is quite similar to a task that we almost got across the line for our season 2. And there was the exact wording of a task, one that aired, and we were about to film, and we stopped filming it because we didn't want to copy them, which was make this house haunted.
Yeah,
we had that exact wording. We were sort of 2 days away from filming it before it aired in the UK, and we pulled it. Yeah. So we try really, really hard not to repeat them, and that's kind of my role on the show. I sit there and go like, oh, this might be a bit too similar to this, and Paul does it as well. I'd love to repeat some of the UK ones because they've been so good. But there was one that I wasn't involved in. I don't work on set. I write and then stay away from it. And then and they had to do a late minute change, and they brought in this. It was the get to 10 points, first to 10 points one, which I thought was too similar to the squash court one from season 1. And so that bugged me a little bit. That it's not exactly the same, but it's one of the ones that Ed Gamble mentioned on his podcast of being like, the New Zealand version did a version of this, and I was like, oh, we tried so hard to do original one. We get picked up on this one thing. It was a bit annoying.
And that's, I see where you come from. So from my own experience of writing tasks, I have another YouTube channel called Online Taskmaster where I wrote, I think it's about 63 at this point. So I've not wrote all of them. I use the Taskmaster book for some of them, but I see where you're coming from about how hard it is to like come up with something that's unique and original, because you can think it's original and then you find out later on that someone else has done it before, and I quite like
exactly
it.
Right.
Yeah, but then coming back to the task, Brindley did it in 4 seconds, which was quite interesting. But the one that stood out for me the most was Madeline with a leaf blower that got a 3 minutes and 21 seconds. That is the most genius idea, because on the UK version,
she absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, and we use the leaf blower every so often in the UK version, but because they've got enough room, that worked so well and just so geniusly. It's probably one of the greatest moments in international Taskmaster history.
It looked so fantastic just watching her power around that field, keeping that balloon in the air. It was it was one of those things that without that part of it, everyone just failed it. And if she had done a similar kind of thing, we probably wouldn't have. That one probably would have made the cut. But because she had that great moment, I mean, it saved it for us, which is so awesome. I think she did it fairly early on, so everyone was quite confident that that one was going to do it. And I think that was one of the first tasks we ever wrote.
Yeah.
And it was worded, keep the balloon aloft.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, so it was great. It was a nice sort of classic Taskmaster task.
And she deserved the 5 points because Angela got 1 point, which I reckon she should have just got no points, full stop. Because I think 0 seconds it isn't on board for a point because you can give him 0 points. Guy got 3 points. Angela got 2. Lee got 4. And I think that's a good listing. I think Madeline should have got a bonus point as well, just for the pure genius.
You're very lenient, Tom. That's nice of you.
Well, no, yeah, I am because it was such a good task. But if the task is terrible, I would say no points there.
Yeah,
but,
I would have said it always irks me a bit when people get disqualified. So I'm quite happy that Ange got 1. And like that's a classic. Just sort of, it's measured on the day. You know exactly. But just based on the time, you know exactly what the score is going to be. And yeah, so I like that. It's a good one. It's a good one to start an episode with, I think.
Yeah, it's quite good. And then we go to task 2. Now, when they all walk in to read the task, it's normally just they're all walking in, and this for series 7 of the UK, James just blanked Alex full stop.
Yeah. That was great.
And a similar moment sort of happened in this one with Lee just walking right past.
He walked straight past Paul. He didn't see him at all. I think he started talking to the director.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great.
It was just quite new. But what I noticed, and I think I must have messaged one of my friends that because of this podcast, I'm rewatching a lot of the international version. And in the first episode, I had rewatched it and then noticed that what's really clever is Alex has the iPad with him and just has the iPad with the timer on it. But Paul actually uses, because I'm a massive Apple fan, uses the Apple Pencil to jot down the notes. And I just think that's like the best thing ever. It's not like an advert or a sponsor or anything, but I just think that's a unique thing that second time round I noticed, which just
that's great.
Wow.
Tom, you should also get Apple to sponsor this podcast. It's
it's
a great.
Well,
everything you do.
Yeah, speaking of Apple, this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts. Rate it 5 stars.
You're good, mate. You're good. It's great.
It's a good one. And then so the task was the first task was to smash the vase the quickest. Guy, Lee, and Brinley did that very well, but then obviously missed that task. What was your thoughts when they zoomed in on the task just laying on the floor?
See, this is one of those things that I knew from the beginning that there was a task inside it because I came up with this task. And so knowing that this was going to happen was just one of my favorite things. It's anytime you know what's going on and other people don't, it just makes the show fantastic. You mentioned it in the most recent episode of season 11 when Jamali talked about the fact that he knew that it was the salt and sugar task where they had to get the salt onto that table, and they were tied together. And so he knew that Mike and Lee had moved the sugar and not the salt. And he said it was just this wonderful moment. And so I had that basically watching this entire show. So it's wonderful. What I sort of got, because I wasn't on set, I kept getting updates from Joseph, the producer, just saying like, hey, Guy didn't see the task inside the vase. And I was like, oh no, if no one sees it, then that task probably isn't that good. But yeah, and then I think we had 2 in a row who didn't see it, and then someone did, and so I was like, okay, this can survive now, this can work. And then of course the other 2, one went each way with the other 2. And so I was a little bit, I think I would have liked it more if 3 people had tried to remake it, or 4 people had tried to remake it. I love the fact that someone missed it. I just would have liked those around a little bit more, so that in the end it's not just we're not just seeing 2 versions of it. But yeah, it was fantastic watching. It was great.
But the one thing that sort of made it a little bit more funny. Then also like drew back a little bit with the fact that none of them had realised, even when they were sat in the studio, even when they watched it back, they didn't realise. I quite liked how Guy, not Guy, it was Lee. Lee didn't even notice it either, and he didn't. He was like he went. I don't even know what show I'm on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Lee is a strange man.
yeah,
Yeah, he's very much yeah, he's
yeah,
very much like that.
yeah.
He's on a bunch of different shows in New Zealand, and that wouldn't even surprise me if he had no idea.
Yeah, and with Guy, just also bouncing to a later episode, but Guy's Guy's quite good because in the UK then we've never had where it's like a brother and brother dynamic, and this one was
Yeah,
like really funny because when they did the tried to film someone from the primary school, which is a clip on this channel you want to go and
yeah,
check it out. That's quite funny because it's the fact that Lee doesn't, not Lee, Guy doesn't always like recognize what's right in front of him and the obvious option. He just dives
exactly right.
right in.
Yeah, a little. This might be interesting, might be not. Guy and Paul lived on the same block as me in Nelson when we were growing up. Nelson's a fairly small town in New Zealand.
Wow.
I'm down in the South Island, and so yeah, we I lived across the road from the school they went to. I went to a different one. I'm a couple of years older than Guy,
Mm,
and yeah, so we lived within like a 3 minute walk of each other
wow.
for a bunch of time before we both moved up to Auckland.
Wow. And then you end up working together.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. And then working every day with Paul earlier this year was great because we just spent the whole time reminiscing about Nelson
Yeah.
and sort of kind of taking a bit of inspiration from some of the things we used to do in Nelson and use them for tasks.
Mm, yeah.
Mm.
And then when they were piecing it together, one of my favorite quotes was Angela saying, "It's abstract."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. And
It was great.
Madeline putting it together using peanut butter. It's an odd thing to first think of. She's like, "Ooh, what do I do? Oh,
Yeah.
peanut.
She used gaffer tape. Why did she go to peanut butter rather than we have glue in the house? I don't know what she was doing. I thought Ange also trying to stick them to a balloon was a bit like it was porcelain paper mache was a
Yeah,
bit of a weird choice.
yeah, and I quite like how Paul mentioned the vase budget.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's right.
yeah, and
Yeah,
he
that
just
was
said it
a
with his. Uh, he just said it like really seriously, not trying to be
yeah.
funny, but he said it so seriously that it was kind of funny.
Paul does this amazing thing. He's just the best deadpan
Mm,
guy and can just say basically anything he says is really funny.
yeah,
Anytime he asks you a question and you tell him the answer, he'll just say, I know, which makes me laugh every time and he gets
yeah.
me every time. Be like, hey man, how are you? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I know. It's great.
I
He
would
does it
love
better than me.
Yeah, I would love to see him in a room with Alex. So I've actually interviewed Alex Horn for my third channel because I've got 9 YouTube channels. I interviewed
Yeah,
Alex,
wow.
and Alex has a thing where he does this thing, and I would love to see Paul and Alex in a room because
Oh yeah.
that would just be chemistry. They'll be best friends, I reckon, if they
Yeah.
were in
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
the room
It's
together.
a it's a big if a bunch of times, then Paul would say, I know,
Mm,
be great.
and
Yeah, I'm such a massive Alex Horn fan. He's
yeah,
great.
oh,
Must have been cool talking to him.
he is very nice, and
Yeah.
he's one of the nicest people, and I'm so glad that his success has gone well. I say worldwide, but it's in 15
Worldwide.
countries. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'm on the other side of the world from you, and he's here.
yeah,
He's famous here as well. So yeah,
yeah,
he's definitely successful
yeah.
around the world.
And I would love to speak to Paul Williams if he's listening.
Yeah.
I highly doubt it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I can hook you up with Paul Williams if you can hook me up with Alex Horn because I've
Yeah,
never got to talk to him.
yeah,
So we can do that. We'll do a swapsy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, mate.
Now with the points on this task that I'm quite glad that Jeremy Wells didn't just go, oh, you're getting 0, you're getting 0. He gave Guy and Lee 0, and I'm quite glad that he gave Brinley 1 point, because then it was more fair, because it's like less likely that they're gonna fail. It's more of they're giving her an opportunity to succeed,
Yeah.
because I quite like her, because I'm a scout person in the
Oh,
UK,
great.
so
I also did
yeah,
scouts.
so I really appreciate
I was
her outfit.
Yeah, I grew up in England, and I did, yeah, did Beavers. I was did
Yeah,
Beavers in England,
yeah,
and
yeah,
started at Cubs. They moved on to Cubs back here,
yeah,
and then Scouts as well.
yeah,
I
and
think I was a venturer for a bit as well.
well, what I quite like about it is in Scouts, the motto is be prepared. And with Taskmaster, you have to be prepared. So I was liking out the fact that she could use a sash or a necker at any point she needed
Yes,
some rope.
I've thought about that. Like if I was ever on Taskmaster, I'd wear something that is
Yeah.
maybe has a big jumpsuit with lots of pockets, with things in the pockets that you
Mm,
can use, or
yeah.
definitely a hat
Yeah.
that can have some sort of different scooping device, or yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
And then Angela got 4 and Madeline got 5. I
Yeah,
quite like the point system there, because it's very like stable, and it's not going willy nilly.
yeah. What did
What
you? I've
would
got a
you?
question, Tom.
Yeah.
What did you think about Jeremy asking the audience on how to judge them?
I quite like that, because it's something that Greg would have done, because it's sometimes Greg's not always asked, like not always sure on the points, and has asked other people. There's some I would say similar is with Joe Wilkinson with the potato, how they made Joe walk out the room so they could
Yeah,
decide it, and it's kind of similar, and I like how Jeremy takes
yeah,
his own approach to not knowing what to do, and then the
yeah,
audience would know, because the audience are there watching it along, so they would have their own opinion.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a very sort of democratic way to do it.
Yeah,
And that's something we really wanted to see, which is going to be quite interesting for us, is how Jeremy was going to be different from Greg and Paul from Alex as well, because
yeah,
we knew that they had to do their own thing, otherwise it's just a copy and it
yeah,
wouldn't have worked. And whether people would latch on to that as yeah, whether people would latch on to that.
yeah,
So yeah, so it's always interesting talking to people about what they yeah, how they see that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't think with
and I was glad that Mads won, because her one was looked definitely much more
yeah,
vase like than Angela's ball of
yeah.
guards.
But with Jeremy Wells, I think as the series, if we make it past series 3, I hope we do. But as the series go on, I reckon Jeremy's going to be like get better each time, like Greg did. Greg started off being the person he is, and now he's like gone further, and I think that's what Jeremy just needs more series to develop. Like, so with the American Taskmaster, Alex was telling me that he wished he had got another series
Yeah,
because it got cancelled. But I think that the issue there was Reggie Watts. So it's always to do
mm,
with the Taskmaster itself. So I reckon the
yeah,
success isn't just the contestants; it's also the rapport between Paul and Jeremy, and
yeah,
it
absolutely.
just works really well.
Yeah, I think we were quite lucky that the American version happened and
Mm,
they did the same tasks. And so when the New Zealand version started up, any sort of big fans of Taskmaster would be like, oh, they're probably going to do the same tasks. And so that would have been a surprise to people. And yeah, my thing with Reggie Watts is he's a wonderful comedian. He's great, great, great. But he just didn't seem to have charge of that room at all. Like
yeah,
Alex led everything. He sort of kept asking Alex, like, oh, how does this next bit go? So that was quite, uh,
yeah,
yeah. He sort of didn't have the same authority as Greg did. I don't think
yeah.
anyone could, because Greg's
Uh,
phenomenal.
he is.
And yeah, if he had done that a little bit more, then that would have been amazing. And the other thing with the American one is that uh, you're watching Lisa Lampanelli just yell at our
Uh,
beloved Alex Horn so
yeah,
much, was a big like, and out of the for no reason,
yeah,
it was
just
just too, yeah, and too
very,
it was too short, not enough time
yeah,
to over an episode. I mean, to get to know everyone.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and that's
So yeah,
that.
so I think we were lucky. We were being compared to that one that hadn't gone that well, and
Yeah,
um, and so ours was a little bit better, which is great. and so I think people are liked it a little bit more
Yeah.
than that,
And I think
which
it's
is which is phew.
yeah, and I think what it is with the placement of where it is. So the American version was on Comedy Central, and Comedy Central's one of those that in the UK because we are the homegrown geniuses of panel shows. Panel shows
Yeah,
work quite well with Comedy Central, but
yeah,
it didn't work as well. And what
mm,
I quite like is how they didn't is how it's like it's different because it's Paul Williams instead of Alex, and second of all, it's a
mm,
little bit different because if you have the same people on each version, it will just look like his thing. Because a lot of American remix
mm.
don't work well. But now moving to task 3, which is
Yes,
which is a task that I thought was a little bit dangerous from Paul's perspective. Oh,
people throwing darts at
yeah,
him. Yeah,
yeah. Well, guy did make a joke about, oh, I could just
yeah,
throw it. Yeah, it'd be quite funny. But um,
yeah,
but I quite like the idea of making them just like throw a dart and land wherever because I had I had found different countries I hadn't heard of, and with a lot with the New Zealand version, I've learned a lot more about the countries because it's because with us when we go to ad breaks, it's adverts, and I found it quite interesting how it's advertisements, and it's so interesting to learn more about other countries in exciting ways. The Taskmaster has made me think, oh, now I know more about New Zealand and Norway and
yeah,
Denmark.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, totally. It's
yeah,
quite fun watching the like the Finnish and the Swedish and the Denmark version, the Norwegian versions, and yeah, see, you have those little moments as well
yeah,
where you're like, oh, they've got these little just these little things that completely change what I would do in that situation. It's
yeah,
I find it interesting as
yeah.
well. We
And
on something that we don't do
yeah,
normally on TV shows is number our parts. We don't sort
yeah,
of call it the first part and the second part, but that's something we've taken from the because they do that in the English version. That
yeah,
Paul will say, "Oh, this is part three," at the start of part three, and go from 3 to 4 and
yeah,
things. Even though we've never numbered them in any other TV show at all. This is the only one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
one of the things we've borrowed.
mm, and so with the task, and Lee and Madeline both landed on China. Brindley
Yeah,
got the domestic, not domestic.
the Democratic
Dominican.
Republic of the Congo.
Yeah. Did you ever hear? Have you ever heard of that country before? What before this?
Yes, I have. I'm a big nerd, so yeah, I'm quite
Yeah.
into geography,
Mm,
which is why where this task kind of came
yeah.
from. I really like music and I really like geography, so this was a
Yeah.
bit of a
I
no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I love music tasks because it shows more about them. So we'll get on
Yeah,
with, in a few more minutes when we go through the task. It's you learn more about them, so you learn how musical they are,
yeah,
and it's just a clever thing to show more of their creative side. Because in the UK, there's a few really memorable ones, and it's the music ones that you get stuck in your head. So I
yeah,
rewatched when I rewatched the episode, some of the ones that I had like was stuck in my head for a long time, then wasn't, is now stuck in my head again, which is a guy
yeah,
in
yeah. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah. Rosalind is a bear,
yeah,
and I always see you do cool stuff. Those
yeah,
two songs are both absolute bangers. They're
yeah.
great. And
And
yeah, and I think we were quite lucky in this lineup that yeah, all five of them are fairly musical. Madeline and Lee extremely, and Ange is quite musical.
yeah,
Even Brinley and Guy, who are probably the least musical out of
yeah,
everyone, are still quite musical.
yeah.
It was a great cast for this task, I thought.
Mm. And I quite like how in this episode it's another two-part task where they
Yeah,
have another task to do.
yeah,
And a few quotes I got and a few quotes and bits and bobs I got from it was that Angela found out that Bangladesh like fish.
because she sat next to a man on a bus.
Yeah, yeah,
That was quite good for her, yeah, because um, she was born in Oman. Her,
mm,
her dad's from Pakistan and your mum's from India. Have I made that up? That might not be quite right. Anyway, so yes, she sort of knew. That's such a weird thing. And Angie's an absolute genius as well. She just knows all these little facts about everything. And she said, "What am
Yeah.
it's really funny."
Yeah. And then Guy picked up the baby violin and just started playing. The guy can't. I don't think Guy can play the violin, and Paul, you can tell off
Absolutely
Paul's
not.
face.
Yeah, he's a fairly good pianist, Guy.
Yeah.
He knows his way around that, but absolutely not a violin. That was atrocious.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Brindley said about the Congo. She said they like mayo.
Yes, yeah. Which I found that was in they used to be I think Belgium. The Belgium used to own what was then called Zaire, I think. To Belgium or in the Netherlands, one of those two that are really into mayo. So they put that there, which I thought was a great little fact for that song.
Well, it's like with the UK, the scout clothing a little bit different. So we don't have the beret or the sash. We're
We
more
don't hear either.
we're more professional.
Yeah, that's not part of the scout uniform here either. I'm not sure where she's got that from.
I think it's from Phineas and Ferb. One of the characters in that used to wear a sash and a beret.
Yeah, no. That's a great nod to Phineas and Ferb if that's what she's doing. That's great.
Yeah. But I quite liked how it was embroidered with the words TM on the hat.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, Bryn was going into the show. She was the person who knew Taskmaster inside and out.
Wow.
I don't think anyone else had. I think Guy had seen a few episodes. Lee hadn't seen any. Ange hadn't seen any. Mads had maybe seen a few as well.
Yeah.
So Bryn was the one who knew to look for hacks and think about things, which worked out really well in some of the later tasks.
Yeah, with Series 11 in the UK, Jamali Maddox had never seen it either. So Jamali and Lee were both on the same playing field. I think when you look at it now, and you can see where Jamali just doesn't know, doesn't. I've never seen it before. Then Lee looks like he's not watched much TV because he just looks like he's unprofessional. But when that's part of his stick.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Jamali Maddox is amazing. He's such a good. I love the fact that he didn't even know Greg Davis' surname. Greg, what's his name? Yeah. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. And who was out of all the songs, whose song was your favourite?
When I watched them straight away, Mads' one I thought was absolutely phenomenal. It made me laugh so much. I'm glad she got 5 points for that. I think yes, she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was very happy about it. I think they sort of nailed the order of this. Lee's one was really good, although genuinely Lee joked about this. He said that I did a full version in Chinese, and he did. And I haven't seen it, but apparently it's atrocious. And then he quickly put that version together, and it was really good.
Yeah.
that was his last minute change around.
Yeah.
Which he nailed. And then Andrew's one was really sort of sweet and cute. It was quite nice. And then I thought, maybe Bryn and Andrew maybe quite similar. And then Guy's was just, I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
That's the one that stuck in our head a lot.
Yeah.
I was saying, are you ready for a song? Yeah. But I think that's because he just stole that melody.
Yeah.
From Salt and Pepper, from someone like that. It was great.
Yeah. And then the few notes that I got down was that Lee's song was funny, but also sounded quite nice because as not many people know, I can sort of play the guitar, not very well. I am learning, but not very well. And I see that his talent was there, and I quite like that. No matter how silly the song is, the melody is really nice. And then with Brinley's, I quite like how it sounded 8-bit to me.
Yeah, that's great. Imagine if someone had an 8-bit national anthem. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible. You'd pick Japan for that, right? I'm a big Nintendo guy, so they should do that.
Because
that's lovely.
when they announced that they were hosting the Olympics, and that the bloke popped out the pipe, so he was doing a nod to
Yes.
Mario.
Oh, it was great.
Uh,
Love that. Love that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
The
and
if you had to, if Tom, if you had to write a national anthem for another country, what country would you like to write one for?
I reckon Chad, because I quite like
Chad.
Chad. Yeah, because
Chad's a
I
good big
assume
name.
everyone's there. It's called Chad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That'd be amazing if that's how that works.
yeah, yeah.
It's a big lake, isn't it? Lake Chad.
Mm.
You should imagine that's just full of Californian surfers
Yeah, yeah,
turning around
yeah.
there.
And Madeline, in my opinion, had the better China song over Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The chords she used were really good, and I wish Paul had actually sung the responses he was meant to be doing then. I
yeah,
think he got told to just call out China rather than actually sing. I think if he sung
yeah.
it, they would have made that song a little bit better. But still, it was great.
Mm.
It was a wonderful song.
And with the music tests both in the UK and in New Zealand, I think that with a lot of TV shows after they've gone out, they do a soundtrack. I reckon there should be an official soundtrack for them where the songs aren't professionally mixed. They're just the songs cut from the program just turned into audio.
That sounds like a great way to make some
Yeah,
money. We've got a task coming up in this season that I think that would work perfectly for.
yeah. And I
Um,
think with the way a lot of celebrity shows go, I reckon some of the money that they get from these albums should go to a charity, because a lot of celebrity shows go to charity. And I think that would be would be nice for the fan, and B would help charity out because fans would just listen to it on a loop.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
That's
because
great. I love seeing anytime you see comedians that you've seen before
yeah,
doing things that show out their hidden talents. When we saw that Richard Osman could juggle,
yeah,
even that you're like, and of course he can. He's a wonderful man with many talents and lots of things.
uh,
You're like, of course he can do that. But I
yeah,
just love seeing that, and I'm not sure if it's so much part of British culture, but in New Zealand culture, people are always quite protective and they don't sort of want to show off that much or show that they can do
yeah.
things. So I love seeing people showing those hidden sides to them, and that's something we often try to egg out in these tasks when we try to write them.
Well,
We want everyone. Well,
yeah. Well, last night in the UK, we had a program called Game of Talent where they had celebrities and normal contestants working out what talent someone's got by just looking at them, trying to work out from the list. And
that's
I think
great.
it, it's a UK version. I've never heard of it. It's a UK version. I think that's the most bizarrest thing ever because you're like looking at people thinking you can probably do this, but then you find out that you can do something else
It's
and it
great.
yeah and
Sounds like a great show.
mm, well
I might have to
it's
look it
not
up. Game of Talent.
it's Game of Talent, and it's not the greatest thing ever because I don't mind saying this on here, but I don't like Vernon Kay. It's a little bit too showbiz for my liking.
Yeah, but too handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a funny man. It's great.
Yeah. And going back to this is that one of the things I wrote down that I think works for every episode is that Guy loves clapping.
He claps for himself a lot and
Yeah,
other people,
yeah,
but yeah, he's
yeah,
he's one of those people that we were so glad we had him in the studio. He always sort of calls people up on things, and yeah, he's a big ball of energy. He's great.
yeah. And I also quite liked how Guy started continue. He didn't stop singing when Paul was like, "Your time's up. It's your own
Yeah,
time," and he continued singing. But then the video was over, and you think, "Oh right, now we're gonna do the scores." No, you're gonna continue singing and get the
just
crowd.
keeps on doing it. He was singing it backstage after the show as well.
Wow, wait, it is
We
very
did it.
it's very catchy.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is. The
yeah,
We heard the songs then on the day, and then I remembered that I liked Matt's one the most, but the only one I could remember is Guy's one until we then saw it on TV a couple of weeks later.
Yeah. And so for that, Guy got 1 point, Brindley got 2, Lee got 4, Angela got 3, and Madeline got 5. And I think Madeline deserved the full 5 points.
Yeah, me too. I like I like the fact that Paul started being protective of the desk in the study and telling Guy like actually getting in the way of when he smashed the guitar on it. I thought it was really looking after the production team, and good on Paul. Good man.
He didn't want to waste too much money.
Yeah, that's right. Because we'd spent all our money on vases earlier in the show.
Yeah. And now with the live tasks, the live tasks I think are the most interesting things because you can do more with it because you've got a quick time, and with the first episode being the fitting stuff in a suitcase and having a random sink just knocking about, which makes me think I think there's a shortage of sinks somewhere. In some studio, they've just had the sinks nicked.
Just ripped it out of the thing,
Yeah. But for this one, I quite liked how they had to draw a map of New Zealand using yeast spread. I'm not 100% sure what yeast spread is. What's yeast spread?
So for us, I think it was Marmite, and we thought it would be. We didn't know whether we were allowed to say Marmite or not, which is why we went with yeast spread. And then we later found out that you're totally fine to say Marmite or Vegemite. Vegemite it's an Australian spread and it's disgusting. And then we have a version in New Zealand called Marmite, which is also disgusting. But sort of synonymous with this side of the world. And it's gross. I don't know why people like it, but yeah, we love the term yeast spread. That made us laugh a lot when we came up with this task. That was the director Andy who came up with that.
Yeah. Well, we have Marmite over here as well, but what's quite the only time I've ever had Marmite is with the Walker's crisps. They did a Marmite Walker's crisps.
Did they?
Yeah. They were very nice. They were very nice.
I love Walker's crisps. I've got some smoky bacon. Right there, which is one of my favorite things from when I grew up in England, and so I got them sent over.
Yeah. Well, we also have sausage roll crisp because there's a YouTube channel that's had like 3 number ones now that love sausage rolls, and Walker's invited them to make sausage roll flavored crisps.
That sounds amazing. Did you try those?
Yeah, well, I tried them and loved them, and so we bought loads before they went out of stock. So we were just there, just eating them, and me and my dad ate them, and both had the same reaction. And my mum had a similar reaction. It's like, it's like the greatest thing. And the Marmite ones were a little bit. I think they were a little bit black, so they looked like Marmite. You tasted them, and you could tell after a few seconds that this was Marmite. I never had Marmite before, but they were quite nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, that's good of you. You're brave. You're a brave man.
Yeah. And I think watching that, and it was quite funny because it's like I'm not the best drawer in the world. Well, I do abstract drawing because it's the only thing I can draw.
Oh yeah.
And it shows in this that it's hard to draw with Marmite because Angela only drew a line and then a cross.
That's right. Yeah. We were really into this one because we wanted to do tasks that could only be done in New Zealand to really sort of make it, show that it was us. It was specific for this country.
Yeah.
And New Zealand is quite hard to draw. And then so Angie's one was I would say shocking. Probably this. Can I say the worst? They're all pretty.
Well, Guy had the worst, so Guy only got 1 point for the worst, and Lee had the best. So he got the 5.
Yeah, Lee's one was definitely the best. I agree with that. I thought Mad's got a bit shortchanged with her one. I thought I would have put her in second.
Yeah.
And then, but she came second last. I think I don't know how Ange got 4 points for that.
Yeah.
She dodged a bullet somehow there. Yeah. I thought the scoring in that one was was very strange, except for Lee. It was Lee first, then
So it was so from the worst, it was Guy with 1 point, then Madeline with 2, Brindley with 3, Angela with 4, and then the best was Lee with 5.
Yeah, I thought Mads's one was she was all in proportion, everything. She just had to cut that little bit and put it in the corner, which for me meant that was better than Brindley's one, which she'd ruined the South Island where she's from.
Yeah.
I think Guy's one was bad because Brindley and Guy are both from the South Island. Like they should have nailed that.
Yeah.
And then and then Ange, she may have got it all on there, but the North Island was terrible and the South Island are really stupid. So yeah, she's very lucky to get 4 for that.
Yeah. And I think it was a good live task, but I think my favourite live task was when they were, I think it was with the pasta and they were karate chopping the pasta.
Yeah.
I think that's the best live task from this series, and I think it's gonna have to be one of the best pride tasks from any version of Taskmaster.
That's so awesome to hear. Live tasks are so hard to come up with. Yeah. They've got to. You want something that's visual, but you can't just do it. I thought I would have really liked the in that one that was karate chopping spaghetti.
Yeah.
If people had looked at each other's and sort of been like, oh, you've got more than me, I'll reassemble them. But
yeah.
But yeah, I really liked that one as well.
Yeah. And I think they were very in every episode they're very all organized and they're not distracted. Unlike in series 11, episode 1 of the UK version, where they all just start lobbing stuff at each other. That none of them were like that. There were the moments where Guy was looking at Brindley and thinking, "Oh, I'm just copying what she's doing."
Yeah, that's right. In this one, yeah,
the moments of that, but you don't just see yeast paste just like flying in the air and landing.
Yeah. That would have been amazing. I would have loved that. Someone sabotage someone else's one. Yeah, that would be great. The that's something we're still sort of finalizing the live tasks for the second season coming up, and it's something that we're working really hard on, and it's hard, man. It's difficult.
Yeah. So
for me, the best live task the UK has ever done was the very first one where they had to they had a backpack on, they had to put up the tent, get inside the tent, take off the backpack, put on a ones, and then emerge from the thing. That just as people emerged from that was just so funny for me. That's just the cream of the crop, and it's very hard to then beat that.
So Madeline won the episode, well deserved win.
Yeah, totally.
Of the episode, and I think she's one of, because when it's like a lot with a lot of versions. I go into things and I know for the New Zealand version, I didn't really know any of the comedians, so I went in not knowing them and went out after the end of the series, and everywhere I looked, they were there. It's like when I interviewed Alex, and then after that, all I could see was Alex everywhere I looked, and everything. And it was the same with my auntie John. She opened up a newspaper, there was Alex, and opened up a magazine, and there was Alex. And on the TV, there was Alex in an advert. It's like that, and it happens a lot with comedians now. I'm noticing them on Taskmaster than they're everywhere else.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and they should be everyone on the show was such a. They're just really nice people. We didn't sort of have anyone that's just trying to make sure that I am telling you. Oh, apart from Guy. No, he's lovely. He's great.
Yeah.
It's funny that it's like when you learn a new word, and then that word suddenly pops up all the time.
Yeah. Then but Madeline and a lot of the contestants, really funnily, were also in Rosie Matafeo's new film, Baby Done.
Baby Done, yeah. Did Mads direct that? No, she didn't. Yes, lots of people in there.
And I think that's a crossover, but there's a lot of the fans of Taskmaster want to see like an international Champions of Champions. Now, I think that's a good idea, but language barrier stops it. But I think there should be like a Taskmaster Champions of Champions between the UK and the New Zealand lot. It's like Patriot Brain, where it's New Zealand versus Australia.
Oh gosh, that would be an absolute dream come true. Imagine if we got Josh Whittaker, whoever's going to win this next Champion of Champions. Who do you think's going to win that? Lisa Tarbuck, Kerry Godliman, Lou Sanders, Ed Gamble, or Richard Herring?
I think it's got to be it's a toss up. It could be any of them really because they're all really good. But I reckon he'll be Ed because he'll be trying his hardest because he will have won. He will have won his series, then this, and then he'll be on the podcast. He wants to be the ultimate.
Oh yeah, he's a massive Taskmaster fan, which I think is pretty good. He's really competitive. Richard Herring is as well. I think Lou is as well.
Yeah.
I feel like sort of Kerry and maybe not Lisa so much, but they just have brains that think about things in just crazy different ways. And I think that's often a good way to win a season. And saying that, so does James Acaster, and he didn't do that great. So no matter what, it's going to be so great to watch those 5 go for it. I'm so excited about that.
If they do another champion later down the line, I would want to see. I want to see Mike Wozniak win Series 11. Purely,
he's so great.
Purely because then he would have won twice because he did the didn't know, he did the Edinburgh Festival version.
Yeah, in 2009.
So won that, then he won that, then he'll be winning this next minute. They'll have to kick Ed off. He would have won. He would have won. I think it'd be 4. Yeah, no, it'd be 3 times. I think by then.
Yeah, that's good. Tom, there is only one person that I want to see hosting that podcast after Ed Gamble, and it is you, my friend. You have got that role in the bag after he mysteriously dies in an accident.
Yeah. So now we come to a format of the podcast that we're going to borrow from Ed Gamble. We're going to make it better. Is to rate your experience on the Taskmaster World podcast from. I think we're going to go from 0 to 5. What would you rate it?
Wait, so you were including a 0 in this as well? They don't do that in Ed's one, do they? They just go 1 to 5.
Well, we'll go to 1 to 5 then.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to copy him? Okay. Wow. Tom, absolutely 5. I love talking about Taskmaster. And it's been so great doing it with you. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. And just before we wrap up, have you got anything that you would want to plug whilst you're here?
Well, what am I doing? We've got the second season of Taskmaster coming up, so absolutely that. Please watch it. Please keep giving as much support that we've had. We've had people say such nice things online, and we do read them. We do sort of keep an eye out. We are because the producer and myself is one of the writers. We don't. That's sort of all we hear about it. So please keep saying nice things online, and because the more you do, the more we'll get to make the show, and we love making it so much. So please keep watching it like you have.
When will the series? Is there a estimation of when it'll be out?
I don't know. We're filming the live ones, the actual studio part of it, towards the end of next month or the month after. Sometimes in the next couple of months. And then it'll just be up to the network wherever they put it on TV. I presume it'll be later in September, but could be any time really.
Well, I'm looking forward to see Series 2. So, thank you guys for listening to this podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching the podcast. I will be back next Saturday where I'll be talking about Taskmaster Finland Series 1, Episode 1, so don't miss that. But if you enjoyed this video, guys, comment down below your favourite task from the New Zealand version, and hopefully see you guys soon. Bye!
Hello everyone, please subscribe to Taskmaster World.